Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Continuing the Conversation, live from the APWA Congress Trade Show floor at the Expo Experience. My name is Emily Barta, and I am your host for this conversation. And welcome so very much to everyone at home, and welcome to everyone here at Denver. Now, what we are doing is truly having a conversation, which means it's not about what we want to say, it's about what you want to hear. So, you have two different ways to have a voice if you are sitting with us here in Denver. The first is the old-fashioned way, by raising your hand. We will bring a microphone over to you so that we can hear your question, and then you can ask away or share your concerns or make your comments. For everyone at home, you have two ways to communicate with us. The first of which is via Twitter with the APWA Expo hashtag, which you can reference at the top of your player. The other way, in the lower left-hand corner, is the question button. So if you have a question, if you want to make a comment, if you want to, hear your voice, go ahead and contact us via Twitter, hashtag APWA Expo, or via the Ask the Question button. And for anyone here in Denver, if you don't physically want your voice to be heard, you can send a tweet as well. And you can see that hashtag right at the top of that plasma. It's APWA Expo. So we're ready to begin, and I have sitting next to me Mary Anderson, who is the Director of Public Works at the City of Highland Park, Illinois, as well as the incoming chair of the APWA Center for Sustainability and one of the original 12 members.
Correct.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Now, you had a session yesterday morning at 8:30, so did anyone here in Denver get to see Mary's session yesterday morning? Yes, we've got about half the crowd here raising their hands. Welcome. Thank you for continuing the conversation here. The official title was The Center for Sustainability, the Public Works Leader's Role in Leading Sustainability Planning and Development. What did you talk about?
Well, exactly that. Really, we were talking about the fact that the Center for Sustainability has a number of tools and resources available to help those who are interested in promoting the cause of sustainability within their organizations. We wanted to help those who are already doing this to be able to do a better job. We wanted to learn from others what they're doing to promote sustainability within their own organizations. And also, we really wanted to talk about how we keep the next generation of leaders inspired and bring them along with this challenge.
It's a really big challenge, isn't it?
It is a huge challenge.
Let me see a show of hands in the room. How many people see sustainability as being a big challenge in their municipalities? For everyone at home, 100% of our audience raised their hand, and I kind of think you do too. I mean, why do we have all these challenges? Why is it so hard?
I think that the biggest obstacle is that people do tend to view sustainability as being something of an obstacle. Our view in the center and among most of the champions of the causes are that it's really something that's integral to everything that we already do already, and in fact is a big part of what we've been doing for many years, just not under that name.
Yes.
And so, we want to encourage people going forward to recognize that and to use what they're already doing and understand how they can integrate that into those benefits. So,
what did you get out of your session yesterday?
I think the biggest thing that I got out of it yesterday, because we had a really lively discussion at the end of the session, and really a lot of audience participation. And one of the things that I learned in this is that there are still a number of places where the public works professionals are the ones that are really encouraging sustainability in their organizations, and they're running into obstacles from people like elected officials or their administrative managers. And so, that was an interesting scenario, I think, because my experience has been exactly the opposite. Not that I haven't been encouraging it, but that we've had champions at the elected level. And I think when you're dealing with an organization where the elected officials may not be as supportive, or may not understand what you're trying to accomplish, then you have a really big challenge ahead of you.
What kind of challenges are all of you facing? Does anyone want to share a challenge with sustainability that you're facing in your own municipality? If anyone at home wants to share their challenge, go ahead and tweet it to hashtag APWAExpo or click that Ask a Question button in the lower left-hand corner and let us know. I mean, this is, your chance to ask questions. This is your chance to have a voice and continue the conversation that started yesterday. So let's keep it lively. Anyone want to share anything? Go ahead and raise your hand. We'll bring the microphone to you. We can come right back here. Looks like Troy.
Hello, it's Troy Moon with the City of Portland, Maine. And I think one of the challenges a public works organization has is kind of transforming business as usual. In operations, people may have developed habits of maybe not recycling, idling vehicles, and other sorts of things like that. And it takes a strong behavior change ethic and a strong push from public works leaders to get the staff to be real leaders in the community and demonstrate that the community, the government and the city organization support sustainability change in their organization, and that the residents can see their workers leading by example.
I think that's an excellent point, Troy. I know in my own community, one of the big issues for us was idling of vehicles particularly. Recycling was not so much of a challenge. We actually have had a good behavior pattern in that regard for quite a while. But with idling, it is really a policy change, and then somebody really has to be kind of watching for it, and going back and saying, well, I was out here and vehicle 210 was sitting there and there was nobody in it, what's going on kind of thing. So you're right.
What other challenges are you facing in your own municipalities in terms of sustainability? We're continuing the conversation with Mary Anderson, who spoke yesterday morning. Dave?
I'm Dave Robbins from the Honeywell. In my dealings with municipal government, I had not really thought to look to the Public Works Department as a leader in sustainability. Do you think it's going to be more of that in the future, where more and more Public Works directors will be starting to lead the effort, as opposed to waiting for it to come down from a city manager or mayor?
I would say yes, because in a lot of cases what has happened in the past, I think, has been that in some cases Public Works has sort of had the implementation efforts kind of thrust into the Public Works Department to oversee. And really what you find is that, we in Public Works, we're master implementers. I mean, we're the ones that take the ideas that come from within or outside of our organizations and make them happen. And so I think, you will see more and more that Public Works departments will be getting involved. And usually when you're dealing with Public Works folks, when you sit them down to brainstorm an idea, they're the ones that come up with so many creative solutions and innovations that they really jump on this kind of stuff and go forward. And as more leaders, administrative managers, city managers, elected officials see that happen within an organization, I think they may tend to kind of let go a little bit and let us, take charge and go on and move forward.
Well, and that was one of the things that you spoke on. How can Public Works leaders really have an impact? And you had a panel with you, so I'm sure there was lots of examples. What are some of the ways that all of us can have an impact on sustainability?
Well, again, I think the suggestion that Troy had about leading by example is an excellent one. And in a lot of cases it takes, taking a look at your internal policies and operations and kind of figuring out what things you can change. Doing a little bit of cost-benefit analysis, I think, is one of the most important measures. Because one of the things that we hear about sustainability is, it's too expensive. You're talking about you're going to make the project more expensive because you're trying to make it sustainable. And in fact, sustainability addresses many factors, including economics. So in most cases, we're really looking at our sustainable projects as ones that are cost-effective, very efficiently implemented, and a much easier and better way to do business. So I think one of the going forward, a lot of what you'll see is that people really want to identify all of those opportunities within their organization, kind of start the practices off, try and get some others involved. When other departments see what you're doing, sometimes they want to get involved and try the same thing. We do annual reports in my organization, and when we start to put out a lot of metrics out there, here's what we did, and we removed this much from the waste stream, and we didn't have this many more miles and greenhouse gas emissions and things like that. They kind of get jealous and want to participate as well. So we hope to to encourage it that way.
Well, and speaking of participation, if you at home have any concerns you want to share, if you want your voice heard, if you have a question for Mary Anderson about sustainability, go ahead and tweet to hashtag APWAExpo or use the Ask a Question button in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. Speaking of that, would you agree, whether in the public works industry or just in any industry, we need to start by keeping it simple, and we need to think about the things that we can just naturally do, or we've naturally been doing for years, but just didn't have a label for it?
I totally agree, Emily. I mean, there are so many things, and the other reason that I say you can keep it simple is in a lot of cases you can learn it from the kids. Kids bring home, children bring things home from school, ideas home from school. I think recycling wouldn't be what it is today if it hadn't been encouraged as much as it has in our school systems around the country. And so the more that we follow through on those things that are simple. I combine my trips when I drive. It's more pertinent now because gas prices are high again, so people are starting to think a little bit more about their driving habits or thinking about when they can use alternatives to driving. I can bike here, I can walk there, or here's an opportunity not to use my car or whatever. So there are so many simple things that you can do, and a lot of those things translate right back into the workplace.
Cost-effective and efficient.
Exactly.
So, we need to educate the elected officials that aren't supporting the public works administrations and leaders that it's not necessarily going to add, it's going to subtract.
Exactly.
What are some examples of all of you here with us that you have done in your own municipalities that have worked or, that haven't worked? We'd love to hear some examples from all of you. Does anyone want to share? Go ahead and raise your hand. We'll bring the mic to you. Or you guys can tweet too. Anyone at home, let us know what's worked, what hasn't worked. What did you hear at your session? Any good examples that...
We actually heard a lot from people who were struggling to get support for their programs within their own entities and looking for ways to promote their efforts a little bit more when they don't have support within the organization, whether from the leadership or from the grassroots within the organization. And I think the Center for Sustainability actually can be a real asset in that case because we have a number of resources. We have an area on the APWA website. We'll have a lot of tools available. We have a number of people within our membership as well as at the chapter level that have been identified as liaisons to help us to promote the programs throughout the chapters. And so I think they're available to help mentor, or provide you with some guidance as you're going through and trying to implement, even if you're implementing a small effort within your community or if you're looking to do a larger program. In fact, one of the sessions that we have this afternoon is how to write a sustainability action plan. So in that session, we'll be able to give people some real-life examples of ways to encourage it through planning within their communities.
Well, that's what we need to do. We need the examples, we need to share, we need to encourage. I'm going to encourage all of you and all of you at home to check out our next Continuing the Conversation as we actually continue the conversation on sustainability with Vicki Quirum, who's the Public Works Director of the town of Westwood, Massachusetts, as well as a member of the APWA Center for Sustainability that Mary just spoke about. And she's going to chat with you about the Institute for Sustainability and the Envision rating system, how it can help your community. So I welcome everyone here in Denver to stop on back by at 12:15 Mountain Time. For everyone here at home, stay tuned because we are going to rebroadcast the conversation that we had yesterday with Greg Varner, who's a FEMA trainer, about FEMA emergency management training for public works. So, Mary, thank you so very much for stopping by. Thank you for continuing the conversation live from the APWA Congress trade show floor here at the Expo Experience. We'll see you back soon.